I believe there's never, ever been a time in human history where we are more confused than we are today. Let me say this one more time. I believe there's never, ever been a time in human history where people, you and I, are as confused as we are today. Let me explain to you why. You see, if you were to go back 1,000 years ago, and you and I are living in a family where our father's a farmer, what do you think we're going to do when we grow up? We're probably going to be farmers. What if your dad's a cobbler? You're probably going to be a cobbler. Carpenter. It doesn't matter. You're probably going to do what your father does. And you're probably going to marry somebody within the community because it's a small village, it's a small city. And the traditions that we have, the church we go to, we don't have millions of different options, right? That's 1,000 years ago. Go back to 100 years ago. Maybe we have more options. But come to today. If you wanted to today, you have more choices and options today than ever before. On career, on religion, on politics, on social media, on content to consume, on dating. If you wanted to have 10 dates every single day starting at 6 a.m. in the morning at the gym till 10 p.m. at night at Starbucks on Saturday and Sunday, you could set it up today. You just got to swipe right. You have so many options today. Why commit to anything? Why get married? Why commit to one career? Why believe in one philosophy? Well, so this whole thing has made it so challenging. Being an 18-year-old today has got to be the most challenging time ever to be 18 years old if you don't have the one currency, which I'll talk about here in a minute. Let me go a little bit deeper on this topic. So the other day I'm holding a conference call, and on the conference call, one of the guys asked me a question saying, Pat, how do you figure out a way to stay sane today and still have a family life? I'm married, I got 3 kids, 8-year-old, 6-year-old, 3-year-old. I run 2 companies. I got employees, investors, lawyers, creating content. All of this stuff combined together, trying to exercise, stay in shape, kind of find out what's going on with the economy, with the news. How do you keep all that together and not lose it? How does that happen? And for me, I went to one place, one simple place. You see, every single year at the end of the year, I take a piece of paper and I write down, what was Pat like at 18? Then I go 18, 19, 20, 21, all the way down to my age today. And I finish it with one thought. Here's what the one thought is. Is the 41-year-old Pat today hungrier, strategic, wiser, okay, than he was at 35? Meaning, if the 41-year-old Pat was to compete against the 35-year-old Pat, who would win? If the 41-year-old Pat were to go against the 40-year-old Pat, who would win? What is the difference between the 32-year-old Pat versus the 41-year-old Pat? What has changed? Now, sometime when you say this, a lot of people will say, well, Pat, I'm wiser than I've ever been before. Okay, all of us are, if you think about it. The more mistakes you make, you're going to be wiser. The more you travel, you're going to be wiser. The more books you read, the more new people you meet. Somehow, some way, more life experiences just means we become wiser, right? But hungrier, different story. What do you mean by hungrier, though? Am I supposed to be as hungry as I am, at 28, as at 40? Am I not supposed to be a little bit more calmer? Calmer, yes. Hungry, different story. Let me explain why. We have 2 people running for office today, okay? Both of them are in their mid-70s, Sanders and Trump. And they are hungrier than anybody else today. Why is that? Is Trump hungrier today than he was at 40? Think about the 74, 75-year-old President Trump going against 40-year-old Donald Trump. Think about if the 75-year-old Sanders is going against the 40-year-old Sanders. Who's hungrier? Why? See, in any competitive environment, if you and I were to go into any competitive environment, but business, sports, it doesn't matter what it is. The moment you decide to compete, every morning you wake up, you fall into one of 3 categories. You're either a hunter trying to go find your prey, you're either someone's prey who's trying to hunt you, or you're collaborating with somebody else to go hunt for something bigger. Just like what just happened today with T-Mobile and Sprint. They came together to try to go against AT&T or Verizon once it gets approved. They're collaborating. But if you don't hunt anymore, you will be hunted. That's just the environment we're in. That's why sometimes business gets a black eye, because it's constant competition. So what's the solution to this? Here's what the solution is. If you're talking to yourself right now, you're asking yourself, you're 50 years old. Are you as hungry you were at 40? I don't know. You got to answer that question. But if you're not as hungry as 40, you may be someone's prey today. Somebody may be coming after you today. And how do you get that hunger again? Very simple. Go back to when you were hungry and think about the state you were in. You'd watch a movie like Gladiator and you'd start getting emotional because you'd say, oh my gosh, I want to win so bad. I want that feeling of redemption like this guy has. You watch movies with redemption. It gave you juice. It gave you power. It gave you strength. It gave you encouragement in ways nothing else was given you at that time. When's the last time you felt that way? Huh? When's the last time you put yourself in a position to feel that way? When's the last time? Why not? Just because you're aging doesn't mean you shouldn't be hungrier. You ought to get hungrier because you have more tools and mechanism and strategy and ways of doing things better today. I'll finish with this thought. You know, I told you earlier, the most valuable currency today, it's also the hardest currency, but if you can get this currency on your side, it's going to be very hard to compete with you today. Here's what the one currency is. The one currency today that'll give you an edge in a marketplace over everybody else, if you know how to concentrate on one thing, you have an edge. If you know how to concentrate your efforts and be focused on one thing, you have an edge. If you can be focused on one thing and not look at everything else that everybody else is looking at, 50 different philosophies, 75 different ways to make money, 19 different streams of income. If you can figure out a way to go here, all of that stuff's going to come your way. But if you go chase all the other stuff like everyone else is, you're going to miss the whole point of winning in life because you can't concentrate. Concentration today is the number one currency. You show me anyone today who knows how to concentrate, I'll show you someone that nobody wants to compete with because it's very intimidating to concentrate in today's time. So yes, it is very confusing today. We are all over the place today. I totally understand where you could be here today, but imagine if you could concentrate. What would life look like? Imagine if you went back and started being hungry like you once were before. Combine hunger and concentration. You know what you'd be capable of doing? Anything you want to do. If you stay hungry and if you can stay concentrated at a time where the world is confused today.